Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of The Terri Cole Show. I want to start with a question. When you're with a friend or your partner or a sibling, and they are struggling with something, they're having a rough time, what is your immediate reaction? Not your response, but your immediate reaction. Like, what do you do? Do you immediately jump to share ideas, thoughts? Do you immediately jump to fix something? Maybe you inadvertently invalidate their feelings and try to say, hey, it's not so bad and it'll be better tomorrow. If you're nodding your head, then this episode of The Terri Cole Show is for you, because today we're going to be talking about the transformative power of learning to sit with emotional discomfort and how we can stop this auto advice giving or this compulsive behavior, not even just advice giving, because there's other things that we do in a compulsive way in an effort to not feel uncomfortable emotionally. I'm going to be talking about why we do it, basically go through a step-by-step process of what you can do instead. So before we get into it, if you are new to my YouTube channel, well, hi, welcome. Introduce yourself in the comments, because as you know, we are a friendly group. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get notified whenever I roll out new stuff. Seeing as how I make it for you. And P.S. it's free. I do it every Tuesday and every Thursday, and I wouldn't want you to miss a thing. And it helps me if you subscribe, so please do. That's what I'm saying, because I know many people watch and don't subscribe, but why? It's no skin off your back, so do it. Thank you so much for all your questions and comments. I love this YouTube channel. You guys know that. Normal people watch Netflix, and I just dive into the chat section of my YouTube channel on the weekends, and I love to highlight you guys. So this is from Dora Lazoo, 14, and this is under the video, Why We Repeat Painful Relationship Patterns and How to Stop. And Dora says, thank you for all of your amazing advice. I can absolutely relate to all that you speak about. You're the best at explaining situations. Thank you. Well, Dora, thank you for taking the time to leave that really nice comment. It really warms my heart that it's helping you, because that's my whole trip. All right, so let's move it on into today's content. So, why am I talking about tolerating emotional discomfort? Because as my brandy new book is just coming out, it's on high-functioning codependency. Many of you know this. This is something that if you are high-functioning codependent, you probably suffer from, which is having difficulty tolerating when other people are in discomfort. And in fact, my brandy new book baby is coming out actually today. So hi, happy birthday to you. Too much. Very exciting. So I'm going to talk a little bit about high-functioning codependency if you're kind of late to this party, and I will be talking about this a lot because that's what the book is about and what I'm most interested in talking about. So what is high-functioning codependency? It's when you're overly invested in the feeling states, the outcomes, the situations, the circumstances, the finances, the careers of the people in your life to the detriment of your own internal peace. All right, so it's not saying that you can't be concerned about people that you love. And that, of course, all of us are lovers and sisters and mothers and daughters and good citizens, and we want the people we love to be happy. But when you're a high-functioning codependent, you feel overly responsible for other people's happiness, right? It is a covert and overt bid to control other people's outcomes. We don't want the person to make the mistake, and so we try to convince them to do something different or whatever it is. So you may see yourself in here, the traits of high-functioning codependency, just to give anyone who's new to this concept. First of all, go get my book. How you doing? It'll actually ship today. So hfcbook.com. There you go. And that'll give you all the bonuses too. Let's talk about the traits. As I just said, feeling overly responsible for other people's problems, going above and beyond, giving till it hurts, always ready to jump into damage control mode, a little bit being judgmental of others, especially if they don't take our grade A advice. We can kind of get pissy because we really do feel like we have the answers, feeling exhausted, resentful, maybe bitter, being hyper independent. This is another trait where it might be really difficult for you to ask for other people's help or to allow other people to help you. You may not be able to do that. And inadvertently you might be a boundary trampler. Inadvertently, you might not have respect for other people's right to be self-determined or to be separate. And when I say that, I really mean that other people have the right to succeed and fail, to thrive or flail in their life, right? They have that right. And even if it makes you uncomfortable, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have the right to tell them what to do or that you should for that. And the behavior, how does it manifest? It manifests as giving unsolicited advice, right? Auto advice giving, being overly self-sacrificing, right? We're kind of always ready to take one for the team, or someone else always needs something more than we do. We might be auto-accommodating, right? Where there might be a situation where someone else needs something and we're like, it's fine, I'll do it. I give the example that if, you and your partner are both heading out to work, let's just say it was the olden days, because most people don't even go to work that way anymore, and you have two cars and their car has a flat tire. They may come back in and be like, there's a flat tire. And if you're an HFC, you might automatically go, just take mine, it's fine, I'll Uber, not a problem. Right? Like we want to fix problems. Like as they arise, it's like whack-a-mole. We just want to fix them. The behavior could be anticipatory planning, where you're thinking of what could go wrong and then taking steps to make sure those things don't go wrong. Maybe because you have a difficult family member or someone you work with, or maybe it's just the way you go through life. With all of this, it's like a hypervigilance trying to stop bad things from happening or stop mishaps from happening. It doesn't even have to be something terrible. And then the behavior of overfunctioning, which of course then can inspire the behavior of underfunctioning in other folks. And in all of these behaviors, there really is an element of self-abandonment, because we can't be prioritizing our wants, needs, desires, and deal breakers and prioritizing the wants, needs, desires, and deal breakers of everyone else simultaneously, because that's impossible. So usually if you're an HFC, it's almost like you'll choose self-abandonment if it means peace, quote unquote. And I will put quotes around that, because it really, truthfully, when you do it for a super long time, it's not very peaceful, right? What is the cost to us for living this way? Burnout, health problems, lack of joy, becoming kind of bitter, not fully self-expressed. And when you're always living in your head in this way, you're also experiencing what I've deemed life light, L-I-T-E, where you're not really there, because we're always thinking, we're always anticipating. The hypervigilance around other people's feeling states or other people having a problem, or the walking on eggshells because you're with someone who's difficult. All of that means you're not fully present in the experiences that you are having in your life, which is a drag. Then the cost to others is their autonomy, us not accepting people where they are. We could be invalidating people's feelings, where if someone is really upset, you're like, oh, but look at it this way. It's really not that bad. You might be the silver lining detective style of HFC. There's a hyperpositivity to the way that you interact with people, but that can be really invalidating to someone else's feelings. And then people become projects, and that is a cost to them and to you, because nobody likes to be managed. It's dehumanizing when we do that, when we're like, okay, I'm going to help and fix you, So that's why I wrote the book. That's why we should care, because quality of life when you're an active HFC is not nearly what it should be and what you deserve for it to be. So let's talk a little bit about these uncomfortable feelings. That I think that what inspires us for a lot of these automatic, habituated, ingrained behaviors is emotional discomfort. You being uncomfortable makes me uncomfortable, and I want my uncomfortability to stop. Your pain causes me pain, because many of us, if we're HFCs, are also highly empathic people. We could be highly sensitive people and highly empathic people. So your pain is causing me pain, and I really want my pain to end. So it's imperative that we learn to tolerate our feelings of discomfort. When we feel distressed about something, we want to take action. This is very HFC. But learning to sit with our feelings instead of taking action and focusing on other people and trying to control other people, because that's so much of what it is, or avoiding it, right? I can avoid the way I feel by focusing on the way that you feel. It's super important that we're able to do this. So I think that we have to start with some kind of mindfulness training, right? So I have all kinds of free meditations for you. Insight Timer is where all of my stuff is. We'll put the link for the app in the show notes. So meditation is one thing, but we need to become more mindful, because the only way that I was personally in my life able to create the space that I needed between my desire to jump into someone else's situation and my ability to not do it, a daily dedicated meditation practice was the only thing that created that space for me. And I've been meditating now for about 20 years. But this is something that is really important. You got to figure out what is it going to be for you, but we have to slow down. That's for sure. I would love it if you would start some kind of a meditation practice. That would be great. So we need to create some kind of mindfulness practices so that we're not going at 100 miles an hour all the time, because then we're just giving into our knee-jerk reactions emotionally without the ability to create a pause between what we want to do and what we can do, what we actually do. We create a choice to choose something different. So we have to really get intimate with our feelings. There's a whole section in the book where we talk about this. Yes, I guess we could call it emotional self-regulation. I do think that's what it is. But it's really about knowing yourself. It's really about taking the time to understand why the other person's discomfort is making you so uncomfortable. So in the book, I walk you through it. And in the guide that'll go along with this episode, terricole.com/guide, I will give you a few prompts to try to things that you can do when you feel yourself auto-advice giving or auto-accommodating or anticipatory planning, any of the things that I've mentioned. I'm going to give you a few things that you can ask, like deep questions. It's really about asking the right questions so that you have a deeper understanding of what is this compulsion about. And I think we all have to be on the same page that when you auto-advice give, it is a compulsion. Because if you can't not do it, it's not a choice. So when people say to me, hey, I'm just being nice, I'm just trying to help, I get it. But here's the thing. If you can't not do it, it is not you being nice. If you can't not do it, meaning auto-advice give, that is a compulsion, just like any other compulsion, which is why I talk about HFC and you getting into recovery from HFC as opposed to being cured of being a high-functioning codependent, So we're going to get intimate with our feelings and figure out what is being kicked up for you in this situation that you want to take any of the HFC actions that I have named, right? So we're acknowledging that you're feeling something, and we're going to help identify what is it that you are feeling, right? So that's the next one, is figuring out what it is. And then we want to tap into our body wisdom, as I've said many times on this channel, many times on this pod, is that we need to dial into our body wisdom. Where are you feeling this in your body? What are you feeling? And if you had to describe it, what is it? If it was a color, what would it be? Right? Is it a scared feeling? Is it a constricted feeling? Is it a neutral feeling? So the more we can get really visual with our feelings and get really intimate about our feelings, the easier it is for us to sit in our discomfort. Because the reason why we're so uncomfortable is because we always run away from it. We feel uncomfortable, we do something to stop the feeling, to numb the feeling, to push the feeling away. What I'm teaching you, and what I teach you in the book, Too Much, A Guide to Breaking the Cycle of High-Functioning Codependency, is how to better tolerate your feelings of discomfort, because that's where the growth is. This is your growing edge, is being able to do that. And then we have to figure out who is provoking this feeling in you the most. It's not about blaming that person. It's about understanding, right? What situations bring this up for you the most? So growing up in a family system, right? Where we were very separate from my father. It was me, my three sisters, and my mother. This was one part of the family. And even though my parents were married up until I was 13, and I was the youngest, so they were married almost 20 years, I think, I was never comfortable because we were never comfortable around my father. I was never comfortable in family situations where entire families were there. I always wanted it to be separate, and I had to get over it. Once Vic and I got married, because he had 3 teenage boys who, of course, became my stepsons. And so I had to get over my feeling that anytime the whole family was together, something was wrong, or it was going to be awkward or uncomfortable, because that's how it was in my family of origin. So I think that what you want to look at is, why is this particular situation kicking up your feelings? So I will also inspire you, and I'll put it in the guide, for you to use the 3 cues for clarity, because that can help see where you might be repeating something from an earlier phase of development or an earlier time in your life. And I think that we have to slow it all down, right? Slow everything down. If you're a rusher, I really, really want you to slow down. If we're to change ingrained, habituated behaviors, we cannot do it at 100 miles an hour. There's just no way. I was such a rusher all the time, and I was always complaining to my therapist about how nobody knew how to work the subway. I was like, why can't people just move the out of the doors? Like, I was that New Yorker who was like, getting out. Like, if people weren't stepping out of the door, I'd be so mad. Like, this is the way you're supposed to behave. Why aren't you behaving this way? Just such a, really not my proudest moment, I'll tell you right now. But anyway, so after listening to me for many weeks in a row complain about this, my therapist was like, okay, well, I have an assignment for you. You need to, for the next week, add about 30 minutes to your commute, and you need to be the last person who gets on the subway. I was like, what? Now, you can imagine being an HFC, being a type A, being someone, everything was strategic. I was strategically planted right where the doors were going to open. I knew I would always be the first person in. If there was a seat, I would always get it if I felt like sitting. Like, I had my morning commute this was like Tetris. Like, I was doing it. You know what I mean? And yeah, so this was a really hard thing, and I can't even believe I did it. But I learned something about myself, besides how much I was rushing so much and how not good that was for the quality of my life. But I learned that I was losing something by being in that hypervigilant state of rushing. I was losing present moment experiences. I wasn't there. I was too busy trying to get to the next place and too busy judging the out of all the people on the train, and nobody knows how to do anything. Only I'm the one who knows how to do it. Like, not pleasant, right? Super judgmental. But I did it. And I have to say, it changed my life. Because after a week, I realized what a waste of time rushing like that was. There was no reason to do it. But it really tapped into the compulsive nature of my other behaviors, my other automated behaviors that I was doing. And this was the beginning of me sort of peeling back the layers of the onion on my own high-functioning codependency and understanding that reacting is not the same as conscious choice. And that it was my job to understand why these situations, why I felt so responsible, why I felt so uncomfortable with someone else being in pain. And yes, I'm an empath, but there's something amazing on the other side of being able to be with the people we love while they're in pain without trying to fix them. That is where true intimacy blooms in your relationships. That's what true love is. I will tolerate my discomfort to be with you in the foxhole of whatever dark night of the soul you're going through, because I love you that much. I will ask you, how can I best support you? Instead of impose my solutions and my fixes on you only to make myself feel better. Because most of the time, if someone has treated you like a project, like a problem that they needed to fix, and kept giving you advice when you were in pain, does that make you feel good? Do you feel seen, heard, known, loved? You don't. Or at least I don't. I don't know how you feel. But I can tell you someone trying to fix me is offensive and painful. I want people to love me enough to be in the foxhole and to say, Vic knows by now, my husband, he's always asking me, how can I best support you right now? Right? What would help, if anything? Because he wants to help, and I love that he wants to. But I had to teach him over the many years that him making suggestions for me when I'm not looking for suggestions is not helpful and really just pisses me off and hurts my feelings. Just let me vent. You know, the most expensive coin we ever spend is our time. And it's like, I want his time and attention when I'm in pain. I want him to tolerate his discomfort around it, and that makes me feel loved. And that is what I hope that this episode of The Terri Cole Show today is going to inspire you to do. So you will get what you need. Well, listen, everything you need is in the book. Go buy it if you hadn't. Please go to hfcbook.com. You can still get all the bonuses. Super exciting. I'm incredibly proud of it, and I have no doubt if you identify as an HFC, a high-functioning codependent, this book is the medicine that you need to get into recovery. I have no doubt about it. In the meantime, I hope you guys have the most amazing week. Don't forget to get the guide, terricole.com/guide. And as always, take care of you.